This episode is brought to you by Progressive. Most of you aren't just listening right now. You're driving, cleaning, and even exercising. But what if you could be saving money by switching to Progressive? Drivers who save by switching save nearly $750 on average. And auto customers qualify for an average of 7 discounts. Multitask right now. Quote today at Progressive.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. National average 12-month savings of $744 by new customers surveyed who saved with Progressive between June 2022 and May 2023. Potential savings will vary. Discounts not available in all states and situations.
Welcome to Secrets of a Sugar Daddy. Here's your host, Marcus.
Welcome to Secrets of a Sugar Daddy, where we pull back the curtain on all the crazy stories. I'm Nikki. I am here today solo, and Marcus will be on the next episode. So I am winging it today. And today I'm really interested in talking about a couple of experiences that I had in February throughout the whole month. It was Valentine's Day. There were a lot of events going on in the Scottsdale area. So for me, seeking was really busy. So hopefully you guys can hang in there with me today while I talk about some of these experiences. And I'm not used to being solo, so this will be very interesting, but I would really appreciate you guys hanging in there with me. And, I'm in the girls' chat, so after you girls hear this, if you want to chat a little bit more offline, let me know, because since we record this, we don't have people calling in, and so I really can't take comments or anything, but many times I'm interested in how you guys are feeling about this and these topics as we talk about them. So today, as I go through some of these experiences, feel free to reach out in any way that you want. And even the men who are not in the girls' chat, they do know how to reach me. So I'm always interested in feedback. I'm not really sure how you guys have been feeling since I've been co-hosting, but I would love to know that too. I would love to get your feedback on that. So the month of February, this has been Valentine's Day. There's been events in Scottsdale. And for me, seeking has been really busy. I altered my profile a little bit. And what I realized is even if you have phrases in your profile or certain words, you can get away with that for a little while. Somehow the bots don't pick it up. But then all of a sudden, if you alter a word, even if it's still a word that's not banned, somehow the bots, it draws attention to your profile, and then they see the wording that you've had in there all along. And some of that wording maybe should have banned you a long time ago, but it didn't. And suddenly the bots have, now drawn attention to your profile. So that's what happened to me in the beginning of February. I altered my profile with just one small word, and suddenly I got banned. And it was the standard message that you have inappropriate content, you're soliciting, all of that. So I had to literally go back and copy and paste all my wording into a Word document and then repaste it paragraph by paragraph back into my seeking profile. And after each copy and paste, I had to wait and see if it would allow it in or if it would ban me. So it was really annoying, but I was trying to get my profile completely updated for the month of February because I knew all these events were happening in Scottsdale. So reworked everything, reworded everything so that I wouldn't get banned again. And I actually, this could be a little trick for those of you who are trying to figure out how to do your profile, but I used the thesaurus to figure out what words I could use that were similar, but not enough to get me banned, and reworked my profile that way. Changed a couple photos and got flooded with interest and messages. So some of those I'm actually still working through, but went on a number of meet and greets, had a lot of great first dates. And then, as you know, over time, people show their true colors. So that's what's been happening for February. And I had an experience with a gentleman who lied about his age. And I know that people lie all the time on their profiles. Women do it. I think women tend to lie more about sometimes their age, but I think their weight. And I've known men to lie more about their height. So I don't think everyone does it, but I have known women and men that do it. And this man fit my preferences. He was within my age range. So my age range, as you all know, I'm 62. My range for dating men is 55 through 60 plus. And the reason I'm okay with over 60 is because some men, if they really take care of themselves, they look really, really good for being 60 or 70 or 72. I'm currently seeing someone that is 72, and he's a biohacker, so he looks about 60. And I really like dating men who are into biohacking and longevity, which I am also. So I don't mind having that age range on my profile. And this man came up in my search as being 65 years old. And he had some pictures that one was a little bit, there was like shade over his face. So it was a little bit hard to tell exactly what he looked like. And then he had some other photos that definitely looked like they weren't recent. They looked like he was younger than what he was in his profile picture. So we started communicating, and he wrote me a very nice, lengthy message within Seeking. And that's one of the ways I weed out certain men. I like men who can communicate, and I like men who really have lengthy messages. I mean, not too long, but long enough for me to know that they know how to speak eloquently. So this man did that, and we had a lot in common according to our profiles. So we decided to move it off of Seeking, and he gave me his phone number. So I did what any responsible dater would do, and I plugged it into Google. And it was his real phone number. So up came his name, and up came his age. Now, in his profile, he had stated that he was 65. And when I pulled up his phone number, it showed that he was 75. Now, to me, a 10-year difference, that's a huge lie. And I guess there's no difference between one lie and another type of lie, but most people do not try to fake their age by 10 years. So I immediately decided to say something to him about it. But I didn't want to tell him that I plugged his number into Google. So instead, I thought, well, I'll give him the benefit of the doubt, and I'll give him one chance to redeem himself and to tell me what his real age is. So the way I decided to do it, because I really didn't want to lose the chance to date him, but I also didn't want to start out on a lie. I really wanted him to be transparent. So I messaged him back. This was still in seeking. And I said, I would love to give you my phone number also, but before we take it off the site, I just want to let you know that I know a lot of people post fake information about themselves in their profile. And I just want you to know that all my photos are recent, within the last 6 months. And the other information in my profile is all accurate. My age is accurate, my height and weight is accurate, and I'm based in the Phoenix area. Can you please confirm that your information is accurate, that you're actually 65, and can you tell me how old your photos are? 2 simple questions. This guy got so defensive. First of all, he came back and said, my photos are recent. Well, recent doesn't tell me anything. I asked him how old his photos were. So recent can mean different things to different people. So he was already being evasive about his photos. And he never answered the question about age. So I messaged back and I said, well, thanks for letting me know that your photos are recent. Can you confirm how old you are? So I had to point blank ask him a second time. And he came back even more defensive. He said, I never post my accurate age because people judge me. And then he went on this tirade in the message app about how people should try to get to know people. They should listen to what they have to say. They should hear them out. They should learn their spirit. They should understand their spirit, their philosophy, all of that before passing judgment about age. And he said, I know a lot of people who claim to be one age and they act a lot older. And he said, I act a lot younger than my age. And all of this was fine with me. You know, I'm sitting there reading this message and I'm thinking, he's got a great point. This is a great point. People shouldn't judge by age. My problem was that his age didn't matter because in my profile, it said 55 through 60 plus. So obviously that says age isn't an issue for me. But what was starting to piss me off was the fact that he was lying and he was being evasive and then he was getting defensive. So normally I would have just blocked him when I pulled up his number and saw that he was lying, but I had really liked what he was saying to me in the initial text message. So I was trying to salvage things and give him a chance to redeem himself. But he just continued to get defensive. So I messaged him back and I said, look, I'm not judging you based on your age because you still haven't told me your age. What I'm starting to judge you on now is the fact that you're lying and you're not being transparent with me. And I don't like to start things off without being transparent. And he messaged back again, really defensive. He finally told me, he admitted, he said, I'm 75, but I have the spirit of a 50-year-old. I'm athletic, I'm energetic, all these things, which he probably was. I wasn't questioning any of that. But it was the fact that he took that whole conversation and got really defensive. So I had that experience and I ended up blocking him. I just decided not to take it off of the site. I just got worried that if he's going to lie about that, even when he is specifically asked twice, what else is he going to lie about going forward? And I was kind of bummed about it. I suppose I could have given him a chance, but I guess in this dating world, it all comes down to your values. What is important to you? And for me, integrity and honesty is important. And I made it clear to him that I wasn't lying on my profile. My photos are recent. All my statistics are accurate. And I just really wanted to be sure that he was doing the same thing. So I'm kind of curious. This is why I kind of wish people could call in if this was live. I'm kind of curious about how you guys feel about people that lie on their profiles, or do you lie on your profile? Do you put different information, whether it's height, weight, age? Do you have accurate photos? I know I've seen a lot of men who, I don't even know if they intentionally tried to put up inaccurate photos. I think they actually believe they have not aged. I think they actually believe that photos from 5 or 6 years ago still look like them. And whether you're a man or a woman, that's not the case unless you've had some pretty good surgery. But for most people, you'll age and your photos will show it. So I'm starting to have a problem with people who are not completely accurate. And then my dilemma was, do I keep giving him another chance? And what he said to me was that putting your age on your profile is an ethical dilemma. That's exactly how he worded it. And I thought to myself, it actually is not an ethical dilemma if you are comfortable with who you are. Because that's what his lie was telling me, is that he wasn't comfortable in his own skin. He's not confident. He's not confident stating his age and letting me find out for myself if I think he has the mind and body of a 50-year-old. So it came down for me to the fact that I want a man who can lead, and that means he has to be confident, and he has to be confident in who he is, and apparently this guy wasn't. So that was that experience. But I would be really curious if anyone wants to reach out to me and let me know what you think about that and what you put on your profile that would attract people.
You're listening to Secrets of a Sugar Daddy.
This episode is brought to you by Progressive Insurance. What if comparing car insurance rates was as easy as putting on your favorite podcast? With Progressive, it is. Just visit the Progressive website to quote with all the coverages you want. You'll see Progressive's direct rate, then their tool will provide options from other companies so you can compare. All you need to do is choose the rate and coverage you like. Quote today at Progressive.com to join the over 28 million drivers who trust Progressive. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Comparison rates not available in all states or situations. Prices vary based on how you buy.
Now back to the show with your host, Marcus.
And I've even had someone in the past, let's see, his profile said that he was 60. And we communicated on the site, and then we took it off the site, and we scheduled a phone call. And the first phone call, within the first few sentences, he said that he was 67. And the way he did it, he sort of threw it into the conversation, hoping I wouldn't hear it. And I did hear it because I catch those kind of details. But at the time, I remember thinking, oh, he lied. He lied on his profile. But then I remember thinking, however, as soon as he got to talk to me, he came clean. So I'm kind of wondering what you guys think about that also. Like if somebody lies in their profile and then admits it almost immediately on a phone call, what do you think about that? And do you think it's an ethical dilemma? Do you have trouble putting your real age on your profile? So anyway, that was that experience. Had a lot of really other great meet and greets. was taken to some really nice restaurants in Scottsdale. I love Buck and Ryder. So if anybody has ever been there or has the chance to go there, it's a really great restaurant and great atmosphere. So the other situation that I had was on the app called Feeld, F-E-E-L-D. And I've been on that app for probably 3 months. It is an app mainly for the kink community. I think the way they promote it is that it's an app for the curious-minded or something like that. But there's a lot of people there from the BDSM community, Tantra, other types of kink and kind of alternative styles. So I have been on there for months, and they're not as selective about your wording as they are on Seeking. So I used it as an opportunity to put it right out there that my kink is sugaring and that I'm looking for an SD-SB type dynamic. So that exact wording has been in my profile for a long time. And then on Feeld, there's another place that you can put wording. It's called the hidden profile, and it's only available to the people that you match with. So when the general public comes to your profile, they see one part of it. And then when you match with someone, they see the other part. So in the other part, in the hidden profile, is where I added more detail about the exact kind of dynamic that I'm looking for. So I have had a lot of luck on Feeld, but just this morning I got my hands slapped for the wording, for using the sugar wording. And I was really surprised because I have been out there for months without anybody saying anything negative about the wording. But this morning I woke up to an email from their support team saying that my profile has the word sugar in it. And they actually quoted the sentences that were considered inappropriate. And that's one thing that Seeking does not do. When Seeking denies your profile, they do not tell you what part of the profile or what sentence or what word is inappropriate, which is why I had to spend so much time repasting my whole profile at the beginning of the month. But in Feeld, they copied and pasted the exact sentences into their email to me to let me know what was inappropriate. So I did appreciate that. And they actually took the wording out of my profile. So I think on Seeking, when your profile is deemed inappropriate, they just shut it down. Nobody can see any part of your profile until you fix it. In Feeld, they deleted the wording, but they left everything else. So people could still get to my profile and see it. And I guess I kind of appreciated that. But it made me wonder how they even came to my profile. So I think I was probably reported by someone that came across it. And then that drew the attention of the support team. They went through it with a fine-tooth comb and they pulled out the wording. However, the hidden profile, they did not. They left it alone. So again, I'd be interested in getting opinions from anyone out there. I'm wondering if the hidden profile cannot be viewed even by the support team. It's like when you come across the profile, the hidden part is locked down until you match with someone. So I'm wondering if the support team cannot even see that wording in there, because that wording also had a lot of, quote, inappropriate words in it, but it was left alone. So I went through, again, I used the thesaurus so that I could fix my public profile with similar wording that wouldn't get me banned. And then I left the hidden profile alone because that was still fully intact. And so I've published the new profile, new and updated, and we'll see. More to come on that. I will let you know how things go or if I get banned again. But on Field, I'm having a little bit of luck because at least very recently, someone matched with me. And in my hidden profile, I'm very specific. And I've said, if you are part of the sugar lifestyle, if you are a provider, if you are familiar with the SD-SB dynamic, put the word sugar in your response to me or I won't respond. Because on Field, you have to, it's not like Seeking where Seeking is supposed to be a sugar-only site. Field, there could be sugar people on Field, but they're there for more of a kink reason. So I really wanted to try to weed out the people that aren't sugar, and this guy did reach out to me. I was really impressed. His profile says he's 64. We will see because, he could be lying, but he has what look like recent photos, and he's local, so he's in my geographic area, and he wrote a very nice message to me. So again, I watch for how these guys communicate, what's their intelligence level, can they string two sentences together, can they turn their sentences into paragraphs, are they articulate? And this guy was great. He explained the kind of kink that he's into, which I'm open to. And then he went on to say, I was really impressed. He went on to say, I don't know if I fit your definition of a sugar daddy. However, this is what I do when I provide. And he gave me this full list of what he does, which was really appealing. He said he pays for dates, he pays for trips, he does shopping trips. He went on and on with a lot of other things that he does. He did not say anything about a PPM or an allowance. And I don't know, it could be he didn't want to get banned, so he was trying to watch his wording, or it could be that he just doesn't do it. But then he went on to say, he said, if this is somewhat appealing to you, or if this is somewhat what you're looking for, then maybe I'm partway there. Maybe I'm a good trainee. Maybe you'll still be willing to have a discussion with me about it, about how I can improve, how I can do better. So this was sounding really good to me. And I didn't respond immediately because, again, I wanted to think about it. And, when you have guidelines for yourself of what you're trying to accomplish, and then someone doesn't fit the exact guideline, you start to wonder, should I communicate with them and see where it goes? Should I just ignore them? It's a little bit of a dilemma sometimes when you're trying to meet people and get your goals met. So I did not respond to him right away. And I kept thinking, I need to respond. I need to get this figured out. So actually 4 days went by, and I am never that late in responding. I usually am a very fast responder. I kind of pride myself in responding within the same day. So 4 days went by, and I finally responded today. Just today, I messaged back a nice long message, and I apologized for my delay. And I just told him I'd had a busy week, and I wanted to make sure I had time to give a thorough response. And I commented a little bit on some of the kink that he mentioned that he is involved in. And I mentioned that some of that I'm not open to, but most of it I am, and some of it I have not yet experienced, but I would be willing to. I have an open mind. And he had mentioned something about threesomes or group play, things like that. So I commented about that. And then I went on to say, regarding the sugar aspect of this, I told him that from what he told me and everything he said in his message to me, he's almost there, quote, almost there, as far as the sugar daddy aspect of it. And I said, there's a couple pieces missing, but I think it might be worth a conversation if you're open about it, if you're open-minded. So I told him that I have a busy rest of the week and that I would try to respond more quickly if I hear from him, but that I was looking forward to hearing from him to, understand more about what he thinks about my response. So we'll see. What I noticed about Field, because this was the app, that it was on Field, not Seeking. What I noticed about Field, I don't get notified by email when someone messages me in Field. So if you're on Seeking, you know that if someone messages you on Seeking, you get notified through email. And then that prompts you to check your Seeking messages. But on Field, that doesn't happen. You have to constantly be checking the app. And I know the app lights up, but mine stays lit all the time, even after I've checked messages. So the fact that it lights up does not prompt me to check it, because there's not always a new message there. So these apps, we were talking about this a little bit in the girls' chat. These apps they leave a lot to be desired as far as the technical component of them. We are also talking about Sugarbook, which is another app. And so before I go to Sugarbook, let me just finish what I was saying about Field. So this guy, I've responded back. I'll be waiting for his response. Hopefully I will have another meet and greet coming up, with him, a meet and greet with him, so that I can get to know him a little bit better, because I'm slightly intrigued just because of his message to me and some of the things he said, and the fact that he sugars a little bit and he's open to probably doing more. So I will let you know about that.
You're listening to Secrets of a Sugar Daddy.
This episode is brought to you by Progressive Insurance. Whether you love true crime or comedy, celebrity interviews or news, you call the shots on what's in your podcast queue. And guess what? Now you can call them on your auto insurance too, with the Name Your Price tool from Progressive. It works just the way it sounds. You tell Progressive how much you want to pay for car insurance, and they'll show you coverage options that fit your budget. Get your quote today at Progressive.com to join the over 28 million drivers who trust Progressive. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Price and coverage match limited by state law.
Now back to the show with your host, Marcus.
So that was Field. And so now Sugarbook. Sugarbook was mentioned quite a while ago, and I don't remember if it was on this podcast or in the girls' chat or at a party, but I went on to Sugarbook. I've been on Sugarbook for about 3 or 4 months. And first of all, they allow a free premium account if you have a student email address. So for students, so that's kind of an interesting concept. They allow students to sugar on their app for free. So that says something. I'm not sure what, but I happened to have a student email address that was old from when I was a student. So I reactivated it and was able to get a free premium account on Sugarbook. When normally I think it's like $40 a month. It's ridiculously high. So I've been on Sugarbook for a while, and I've had so-so luck. It hasn't been really even the volume that I get on Seeking or on Field. But I like just having the free account. So that I am going to stay on and just see what happens there. So that has been my experience over the past month with Seeking, Field, and Sugarbook. And very curious as to what everyone else is on. I mean, I kind of know what the girls are on because we chat a lot in the WhatsApp group, but I don't have any men reaching out to me that are listening to this podcast. So if you're someone that's been at the parties, you've probably got my contact information. But if you're on Seeking, I show up there as Nikki, and I'd love to hear from you and get your feedback if you're listening to this podcast. I'm working with Marcus to get a really interesting guest on the show. He doesn't know too much about it yet, meaning Marcus doesn't know too much about it because I haven't seen him and had a chance to talk to him. But this guy is running a very interesting, let's just say an interesting organization that is related to sugaring. And I met him in my ongoing quest to find something better than Seeking. And in my research, he popped up, and we have been communicating. I'm trying to somewhat vet him and vet his organization. I'm very confident that it's legit because I've now been in conversations with him for the past few months, so I know his organization is legit, but we are trying to work out getting him on this podcast. He's open to being a guest and talking about his organization. He's having some medical issues, so that's why it's taking so long. It's our conversations, our emails, everything. There's a huge delay of like several weeks at a time every time I message him. And I'm just trying to give him the space to take care of his health so that when the time comes, he'll be okay to be on the podcast. So I'm working on that. So that's in the works. Oh, the other thing I wanted to tell you guys about. So there's been a lot of conversations in the girls' chat about STIs, testing, safe sex, unprotected sex, the whole gamut related to sex and protection. So I decided to run a couple questions past my doctor and to get my gynecologist's opinion about this topic. And it was really interesting what she said to me. And I approached her with several different situations, hypothetical situations. I said, there's unprotected sex. There's people who say they're monogamous and then they end up not being monogamous. And personally, I had that experience in both of my marriages where I thought the marriages were monogamous and my husband's cheated. And I also said to her, there's this whole question about STI testing and when do you get tested? How accurate is it? What's the incubation period of the STIs? What about oral sex? Unprotected oral sex? Like there's all these things that come up when you're dating multiple people. Now, if you're monogamous and exclusive, then it's not an issue. But in the sugar lifestyle, at least from what I've seen, very few people are monogamous. It's an agreement that you're not. So I asked her all these things, and she gave me two opinions. One is her medical opinion, and the other is her personal opinion. So first, her medical opinion was that she said, any place there's a penis, there should be a condom, period. Whether that penis goes in the vagina or in the mouth or in the anus, there should be a condom. That was her medical opinion. And then I asked her personal opinion because I said, okay, it's not always realistic. It just doesn't always happen like that. It's very easy to say it. And you can even agree on it beforehand. But when the time actually comes, does it actually happen that way? Not always. So her personal opinion was super interesting. She said, STIs have an incubation period of up to 3 months. So you can get tested, come back negative, but actually be positive because it's within the 3 months and it hasn't shown up on the test yet. So some of these people who, like they have their partner get tested the day before and then they have unprotected sex, you're really unprotected truly because you're not necessarily negative on the test. And then there are people that for some reason they have unprotected sex and then they want to get tested right immediately after. And that doesn't do any good either because again, there's a 3-month incubation period where you could test negative at that moment, but in 3 months you could test positive. So then there's the situation of oral sex. And what I said to her is, so really you're saying everyone should have, if a woman is giving oral sex to a man, he should have a condom on. And I said that rarely happens. And she said, well, it's not as risky. And I said, what do you mean? And she said, well, the reason for protected vaginal sex is so that STIs aren't transmitted into the vagina. And then there's all these strains that can give women cancer. So that's why women push for protection. And as far as that type of sex goes, there's less strains that will affect a man because a man doesn't have a uterus. So a man cannot get uterine cancer. So the strains that affect women vaginally are much more serious. So then she went on to say, but orally, the strains that could affect women would be throat cancer, would be strains that cause throat cancer. And she said there are way less strains that would cause throat cancer than would cause uterine cancer. So that actually broke it down pretty well for me. It still doesn't help the problem of, safe sex. It doesn't change the fact that there's an issue out there, that men don't like condoms, women don't like using them. We all like it natural. But for women, we try to protect our sexual health because some of these cancers are devastating. And men don't have to worry about that. There are certain strains that can affect men. So I went on to talk to her about, okay, what about a man giving oral sex to a woman and the woman has an STI? So her answer was, yes, the man can get it and it can cause throat cancer in the man. But there are less strains that do that. And there are dental dams that men can use on women as protection. So I was fascinated. I don't know how all of you are feeling as you're hearing this, but I was fascinated by that information. I grew up in a household of very strict Catholics. We did not talk about sex. We were not supposed to have sex before we were married. And then once we got married, we were supposed to stay married. So that was the kind of dynamic I grew up in. So I learned really, really late in life about these kinds of topics. And actually, me being in the sugar lifestyle has helped me learn even more because these kinds of conversations are very prevalent in this community, the sugar community, and people are okay being really open about things. So it's helped me learn, and it's what prompted me to have this discussion with my doctor. So I was really, I guess, I'm somewhat hopeful that it comes down to setting boundaries. I'm hopeful that if people set boundaries with each other, then things like this will get easier. And I guess that takes me to the topic of boundaries, because what I've been trying to do, and maybe it's just because I'm old and I'm 62 and I'm not going to put up with anybody's shit, I think it's important to have boundaries. And it's important to know what you're okay with, what you're not okay with. And don't wait until you're in the heat of the moment to have the discussion. I think that's what happens many times. Many times people have boundaries, but they're afraid to talk about them. They're afraid to get them out in the open up front. And then in the heat of the moment, when sex drives are high and all of that, everyone's like, well, forget it. We don't need boundaries. And then later, you're under all this anxiety and all this fear of, oh shit, we just had unprotected sex.
You're listening to Secrets of a Sugar Daddy.
This episode is brought to you by Progressive Insurance. Whether you love true crime or comedy, celebrity interviews or news, you call the shots on what's in your podcast queue. And guess what? Now you can call them on your auto insurance too, with the Name Your Price tool from Progressive. It works just the way it sounds. You tell Progressive how much you want to pay for car insurance, and they'll show you coverage options that fit your budget. Get your quote today at Progressive.com to join the over 28 million drivers who trust Progressive. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Price and coverage match limited by state law.
Now back to the show with your host, Marcus.
I think it's important for each individual to think for themselves as to what they need, what's important to them. And personally, I have a document called my Personal Bill of Rights. And it is my document that lays out my boundaries when I'm dating. And there are level 1 boundaries and there are level 2 boundaries. And if you can get past level 1 with me, then we'll see if you can get past level 2. And if you can get through both levels, I'll date you. And that's not just for when I was doing traditional vanilla dating. It's the same personal bill of rights that I use now in sugar dating. And it's probably why I'm not in a formal arrangement yet. It's because I'm very selective and I have these boundaries that people need to honor in order to take it further. So I'll do a meet and greet to get to know the person. If there's good chemistry there and if we're really hitting it off, I'll agree to do 1 or 2 more dates. And those dates are compensated, but not intimate. And again, that's just to make sure we have the chemistry, that we're in alignment with each other's values. And during those dates, that's when the boundary talk comes up and the talk about values. And if that goes okay, then my expectation would be that we move into an arrangement. I'm not going to keep doing non-intimate, compensated dating forever because I want sex just as much as the next person does. But I need to be sure that my boundaries are going to be honored and that we actually have chemistry together. I mean, I've had a situation in the past where I broke my own rule. We had a super great meet and greet, lots of chemistry. We even had a few phone calls before the meet and greet. Meet and greet went great. He actually was very generous at the meet and greet. He compensated me, which I was not expecting. I really appreciated that. And during the meet and greet, we talked about what I wanted, what I was looking for. And I was really clear about most of my boundaries, and he was in agreement. And I also said that, I'm looking for an arrangement. Like, I'm not looking for multiple PPMs forever. I'm looking to be in an arrangement. And I did say, I know you travel a lot. So I know a lot of men, when they travel a lot, they don't want to do allowances because they're not around much. And he said, no, that's not going to be an issue. He said, I do travel a lot, but that's not going to be an issue. So there was a verbal understanding that we would do one more date, another, like a PPM, and then move into a formal arrangement. And I got played. I got played. My boundaries got walked over. He did use a condom, but I know he didn't like it. And after that second date, and after that meet and greet, after the meet and greet and after the PPM, I barely heard from him again, even though the verbal conversation was that we would move into a formal arrangement. So I broke my own rule because I had sex during that PPM instead of it being a non-intimate compensated PPM. I broke my own damn rule, which I'll never do again, and I let myself get played. So my personal Bill of Rights is even more important to me now than ever, because it really helps me weed out the people. I'm pretty sure he was just looking for a one-night stand and didn't want to say it. So my personal Bill of Rights is something that I use all the time, and it really lays out my boundaries and my values. And my boundaries are based on my values. I don't want to just have random sex with people. I'm really looking for a connection and a way to keep that connection going, even though it's not marriage or exclusivity. I'm not saying that in my boundaries that I communicate to people. I'm really just saying I want a long-term connection that's based on mutual respect and an understanding of values and boundaries. So I'm communicating all of this because I'm seeing a lot of strange behavior out there from the men, from the women, and it's because nobody's having these conversations. For some reason, maybe they're jumping right into the financial part of it, like what's acceptable financially, and that discussion does have to happen, but you can't have that discussion by excluding maybe an even more important discussion about values and boundaries and what each person wants. And I guess the way I see it, kind of like the guy that lied about his age and some of these other guys, you know, I'm not desperate to have these people in my life. And maybe that's the difference. Maybe other people, for some reason or another, do need certain things more immediately, and that might force them to compromise their boundaries a little bit. But I think everyone just really needs to slow down and think through things and come up with their own personal Bill of Rights that works for them. And then it really needs to be communicated. And that's where you use those meet and greets and PPMs to see if you're in alignment. And, you know, there have been times when the chemistry has been so great between me and somebody else that, well, like, for example, this guy that played me, at our meet and greet, the chemistry was through the roof, and we had a few phone calls already. And during that meet and greet, he asked if I wanted to go back to his house. And yes, I did want to. But that doesn't mean I did. I guess I'm still, you know, at my age, thinking not with my sex organs, trying to think with my brain that God gave me. And so even though the chemistry was great, we got along really well, the offer was there, I wanted to go back with him, I said no. And we planned out the next date, that meet and greet, and I still ended up getting played. But I guess my point is that try to, instant gratification isn't always the way to go. And especially if you're talking about possible unprotected sex or people that will agree to it in the moment, but then when the time actually comes, they renege on their agreement or something like that. So lots to consider. And I think that's in a way, that's the beauty of the sugar lifestyle, is that you can really use the situations. Every situation is very different with every man I've met. The situation has been different. So you can't even use the same framework with every person because that person is going to be different. So you have to be somewhat flexible and willing to be very present and in the moment during your conversation so that you can pick up on subtleties. And if you're thinking with your sex organs, you can't pick up on subtleties. You're blinded in that way. So anyway, we're getting to where it's almost time to wrap up. I felt really honored to be able to do this episode solo today. It really was totally unexpected. I came in to meet Marcus so we could do this together, but something came up, so I'm here by myself, and he was gracious enough to invite me to do it solo. So I would really love everyone's feedback in whatever way you can get a hold of me, either through the girls' chat or through Seeking by looking me up as Nikki, Nikki, or any other form of contact that you might have for me. If you've met me at one of the parties, please reach back out. I would love to chat and talk to you and see how you like the show, the episode specifically. If you have guests or if you want to be a guest, let us know that also, because we would love to have you on and hear your stories and your philosophy about things. Like, how has it been going for you in this lifestyle, this sugar dating lifestyle? And what kind of things have you been up against? I've shared kind of a lot today that I wasn't expecting to share. So hopefully that sat well with everyone. But we will be back next week. I hope you're keeping up on all the back episodes also, because we do this every week and it's really a lot of fun. I love coming into the studio in Scottsdale and just hanging out with Marcus for an hour or so and chatting. And then when we have guests, that's great too. And you don't have to be local to be a guest. So keep that in mind too. We would love to have you. You can call in through Zoom. And we'd love to have more women talking about their experiences. We'd love to have men to get the perspective from the man's side of things, especially when it comes to sex and PPMs and getting into arrangements, getting out of arrangements, how to navigate. Personally, I've learned a lot from being in this lifestyle and being involved at the parties and in the girls' chat, and really understanding more about how to navigate everything. All right, it is time to wrap up, and I will see you again next week. So stay tuned for another episode of Secrets of a Sugar Daddy. Bye.
Thanks for joining us. If you'd like to connect or even be on the show, we'd love to hear from you at secretsofasugardaddy.com.
This episode is brought to you by Progressive. Most of you aren't just listening right now. You're driving, cleaning, and even exercising. But what if you could be saving money by switching to Progressive? Drivers who save by switching save nearly $750 on average, and auto customers qualify for an average of 7 discounts. Multitask right now. Quote today at Progressive.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. National average 12-month savings of $744 by new customers surveyed who saved with Progressive between June 2022 and May 2023. Potential savings will vary. Discounts not available in all states and situations.